All right, so if I have the HTML like that, now this is how the local storage works. Uh, First, if you're going to the local storage, first thing you want to do is you want to be able to save. You want to be able uh, to get what you save. When you save something, you want to be able to get what you saved, and of course, you want to be able to replace an item from the storage, which is essentially also saving again. It's nothing but just saving again, and of course, to be able to delete what was saved. So to delete an item, so these are life cycle of storage: saving, getting what you saved, editing what you have saved, and of course, if you don't want it at all again, you want to remove it. And this is covered with the local storage thing. Oh, so the local storage itself, the syntax is from, you can get it from the window. It's inside a window object, but most of the things that we have been using are also Windows objects, so we don't have to actually a window class. We don't really have to mention Windows, like console.log. Each time we say console.log, we could actually say window.console.log, which is pretty cumbersome. So we can just say local storage, keyword local storage dot. Now I'm talking about saving now. If you're saving, to save, which is number one, to save an item. I'm talking about this one now. Number one, to save an item, you're going to use local storage as a keyword. Then you use set item like this. Okay. So when you use set item, you are going, this take two params, two arguments. The first one is the key that you are saving with, and the second one is the data that you are saving itself. So if you're going to save something, just like we have been dealing with variables, that will just save item inside the variables. So the key that we're using to save the item is the variable name, and the data we are saving is what we are assigning to that variable name. So the same thing in local storage. You are going to create a key, which is you define it. You define what key, so that when you need that thing, how are you going to get back that thing? Is by calling the key that you save that item with. So you define this key, which can be anything. So you define it, but keep to the rules of naming variables to avoid problem. So you define this key. It's your definition. You put, well, if you like, put your local language there. If you like, put your whatever you want in there. And the data that you are saving in here, comes second. This data though has to be in the format of a string. Has to be in the format of a string. So, but that does not say that you cannot save an object, an array of objects. You cannot save that in there. But when you are saving an object in your local storage, you have to convert it to a string first before saving it. It's very simple and very straightforward. This is how saving is. Local storage, set item, put a key, and put what you're saving. For example, if I write a script, JavaScript, all these ones are HTML, just to explain. Now, if I put an example and I say local storage, or so let's say let's name be equals to, let's say let's first name be equals to Kenny, and let's say let's last name be equals to Salami. You get what I mean? So now if I want to save this, so I can define local storage dot. So when you say local storage dot, you see a couple of items that local storage has. So set item is what we use to save. Now you define a key. Let's say that key is name. Okay, you call that key name. This could be anything, is your definition. It's like this. Then what you're saving in there is, let's say, the user's name, which will be maybe the first name and last name, something like that. Maybe you want to, you concatenate both of them and then have both of them saved, or you just saved only the first name. Only the first name. Now, so if you do this, if you run this code right here, okay, and you go to this, where is that guy again? So assuming I dispose this, I go live again. So if you check this guy out, local storage 500, this is the local storage that we have in here. So if you go into your inspect on your browser, okay, and then you move on to the here, you go to application. Depending on browser, it differs from browser to browser where it's saved. On Chrome, it's saved inside application. So if you go inside application, you see this local storage, and of course the local storage will be talking about the current URL here. Now, so this current URL, you have a couple of things saved. So there are certain things that we have saved inside local storage port 5500 before. So let me delete them. That is not in this class, but let me have all of them deleted, so that now, so if I reset this now, so you see what the key in our own implementation here is name, and then the value that we passed in is Kenny. So whatever you passed in here as your key, what we saw there before is because we have, in my own case, have some things saved on that 5500 before, and so all of those things showed up, but they are not related to this. So anything you put here is the key, and whatever you put here is the value. The value can be an encoded string, or could be a variable that you have somewhere. So what we are saying is that, what we got here, we have the anything, and then we have this one. So what you saw here is that this is not actually replacing, it didn't replace this name, even though this was called twice. That is because it's already saved in the local storage. So you doing this, changing that name to anything else, does not replace that. But if you go ahead and put name here again, which is that key, and put something else, in this case last name, this replaces the value of the key that is already existing in the local storage. So name before was Kenny, name is now Salami. Anything is Kenny. Here I can change. If I come here again, I put anything again, it replaces the value of that key. So you come here again and put Victor. This is the value that I'm passing in now. Statically passing in the value. This would also change the value of anything. So what we are saying is that you define a key and you pass in the value inside it. But that value of that key can be changed by calling that key again and passing in something else. All right. Please, who is confused? Local storage or set item, just a key and pass the value. The value can be static like this, or can be a variable that you get from somewhere. Please, who is confused? Please, if you're confused, let me know. So let's say we have, let email be equals to kenny@gmail.com, and then let phone number be be equals to 080223344 or something like that. Now I can construct an object with this. Construct an object and say let's person be equals to this, where we have all of these, instead of, because I cannot, it doesn't make sense for me to be saving somebody's property one after the other, name, first name, last name, these things like that. So what I want to do is just have all of them bundled into an object, and then I can then save the object rather than saving its property one after the other. We've discussed the essence of objects and why you should choose a data structure called objects over just a mere string when you are doing stuff like this. If you're having to describe an object, or an object, in this case a person, in totality. So here, let's say the person's first name, which is a key, is first name. This value, right? Last name is the last name. Email address is email address. So you could actually just do it like just passing the key and value, will evaluate. But let me say I have it like that: phone number, key value, or you can stringify this as you want. Now here, this is an object. If I pass in this as a value to this, remember I said that what you're supposed to pass in is a string, but now I'm passing in an object, and then I'm changing this key to a key called user. So if I save this guy and I call the key user, if I go to my local storage, what I will see there would be object. And by virtue of that, if I get it back, I cannot do anything with it. What I'm seeing here is object, because the data type that I passed in is an object. So to pass in an object or array, which is also an object by nature, would be to convert this guy to string first before saving it as a data to that local storage. So what you can do to convert an object to a string, we've done it before, is just to stringify it. You stringify this guy, so you can stringify it in place, or you can pass the stringify value to a variable first before you save. So Jason.stringify a person. So if you stringify a person, then you have the value converted to string, and then we should see what is saved in there. So we can see first name, last name, salami, you see things like this. So this is saved as, this is how we would save an object, and this is the same thing if you were saving it. If these objects are, for instance, array, let's say we have arrays, it's not just one person, we have several of them. So let's say we've got this like this, where we have several people in that. So let's say we have this, we have that, we have plenty of people in that. All right, so you have this, and then we pass this guy here as people instead of persons. So people, so we won't be speaking Ibadan. So let's say we have these people, and then people from Ibadan, sorry. So we have this now. So you can see this just does nothing but just convert this guy to an array, and then everything works properly. So this is how we save item to the local storage. This is how we save item to the local storage. Please, is anybody confused before we move further? I can see. Okay, so inspect application local storage. That is for what is it called? Chrome. If you go to this guy, this is Edge. If you go to Edge, or if you're using Mozilla, you'll find it in another place. So let me move this guy up a bit. So if you inspect this guy, so on this one, where is it again? On this one, you have it inside the application as well. On this one, you have it inside the application as well. But if you have Mozilla, let me see if I still have Mozilla Firefox. So you may find that one in another place. I think but it's not inside the application, depending on which engine that guy uses. Okay, but it's pretty straightforward. Okay, so in some of them you may find them inside memory, or just explore depending on which browser you're using. Okay, now moving on. If there's no confusion and it is pretty clear, I don't know if anybody is raising their hand. Is anybody raising their hand? I can move on, right? Do you consent to the fact that I can move on?
Yes, sir.
Shama is raising a hand.
Yes, sir.
Right, please.
Yes, sir. Sir, could you please scroll up? Is anywhere you defined email address?
Yes, I defined email here. Email.
Okay.
Is that's the only question?
Yeah, because I tried it on my system and it was saying email was not defined.
Oh, okay. I defined email. I like the fact that you're also coding along, so we can easily. Okay, guys. So I have your permission to move on, right? So the next thing we want to do here is, we know how to save now. You can save, but then how do you get back the money that you saved in your bank account? You save certain item. How do you then get it back? So I want to assume that I don't have to tell you that you know how to get data from form. So if this, instead of getting this one, defining this as a variable, this could be coming from a form that you design, maybe a registration form, or whatever form. Instead of defining it like this, and then you can have that construct into an object straight on, and then pass it inside these things, and this would effectively serve as the users of your application. Now, so the next thing you want to do is to be able to get what you saved in there. It's very simple. Now, to get saved item or items, depending on what you want to do, the syntax is pretty simple as well. So you just use local storage, okay, and dot get item. Here you are setting item. So now you get the item by the key. This one takes only one argument, and is the key that you saved it with. So in this case, I save it with user. So when I say dot get user, it gives me what I have inside user. Okay, when I say dot get, so if you look at your storage, I have name, I have anything, I have this. So these are keys. So if I say dot name, it gives me Salami. If I say dot anything, it gives me Victor. If I say dot user, it gives me this guy. But of course, you know that is a string. You can't come here and say key. This is going to throw an error because key is not defined. You are passing it in as if you're passing a variable, and that must have been defined. So you get a reference error. So the key is what you put in here, which is how you define it here. So in this case, this is the syntax. Example, if I need to get my users, I can just say let users be equals to the local storage dot get item, and then here I save it with user. What I save it with, it must match word for word user. Then that gives me the all the users, so I can confirm if I have it by maybe alerting it. Alert, so it's a string, so I can just alert it like that. Alert users. So here this gives me the users. You can see I have it alerted like that. I have it alerted here. This is this other guy here. This other guy here. Chrome, Edge. Edge. I have some other things saved in that URL before, so I have a couple of more these things here. So when you are saving, you're actually saving inside that URL. So you know that you use when you each time you go live with your live server, it uses this port, and of course with this local address. So all the variables you save locally with that your live server it gets saved here. So if you go to, for instance, if you go to google.com, you will see that Google also manages, or even so if you go to, let's say, google.com, and you go to their application. So what you're seeing here is google.com. So you can see Google saving a couple of things in the local storage with. This is where you get some pretty much good this thing. Fast loading time, something like that. So a couple of them are loaded for you locally that you already have before. So this is google.com. So what I'm saying is that it's saved in the URL. The content is saved with reference to the URL like that. And why you are having multiple of the item that we did not save now is because this URL has been used severally for several other illustrations in the past as we've started. So, and all these guys are saved in there. I hope nobody is confused with what I'm saying. So you can check any other applications that you use and you see how this saves up stuff, like that. Okay, now moving on now. We've been able to see how we can get this item. So for instance, if you need to get other stuff that you have saved in this your own URL, if you need to get name, if you need to get anything, so if you put name here, the output of users would just be what we saved inside that guy. So this one says salami, this one may not have it. This other one, this is the edge. So everything got saved and like that. So when we say users, what we're getting for a key name is salami. Can I move on?
So I have a question.
Oh yeah, please go ahead with your question.
Okay, so you said that the local storage is whatever we save inside is binded to the URL,
Yes,
right?
yes,
Does it mean that when we share this URL now, in the case of, let's say I hosted it on Vercel and then shared the link with someone,
yes,
does it also take the data to their own device?
yes. So but the data that is saved on their own device is not global. It's not seen on any of the other person's. So let's say, for instance, you shared your Vercel URL to two users, user A and user B. Now user A, starts registering his own user on his own local storage, and user B also registers his own user on his own local storage. Both of these users are binded to the URL that you're giving to them. So, but then they are not global. What I mean is that Mr. A cannot see what Mr. B is saving, and Mr. B cannot see what Mr. A is saving. This is local. We are not. It's through this browser, and in fact, couple of things like on this browser. Look at it on this browser here. On this browser, I'm going to delete name. I deleted name here on this local storage on the Chrome. But if you go to the other browser which have it saved, the name is still here. What I'm saying is that it's local to your system and also local to the browser. So if you share that Vercel URL to your users, and they hook up to that user to that URL with they use your URL with a Chrome browser, and they never try it on any other browser, that the data is saved on Chrome and not on any other browser. I don't know if you get what I'm saying. This one happened to be everywhere here when we say local storage this one, because I have it open on two hands, and each time you refresh it, it refreshes on both hands, locally, and so the data is shared on both hands
Sorry,
like that.
you're breaking.
Yeah, is it better now? A call was coming in. You get what I'm saying? What I'm
It's
saying
better.
is better now, yes. So what I'm saying is this. Look at this. This is google.com.ng, right? This is google.com.ng. Can you see that?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so this google.com.ng, this is a URL that everybody use. You use it, uh, Rahmat use it, Mr. Shams use it, everybody use it. Now, this is local to me. This data here is local to me. You don't see it. And whatever is you saved it your own google.com.ng also is local to you. I don't see it. So the same way when you host your stuff on Vercel and you share it with several users, what they are saving is local to them, and it's of course also local to the browser they use. This is saved inside this browser and not any other browser. So if you log in here, that's why sometimes if you have been using Chrome to log into your Facebook, and for the first time you are trying to log in, maybe when you come back next time, it's not asking you for login again. So it has a way, because you already have your credentials stored locally, on that browser. So if you use another browser, it asks you to log in, because you're using that browser for the first time. It doesn't have the data that the other browser has. Does that make sense to you?
Yes, sir. Very well. Thank you very much.
Yes. Okay. Now, so this is how we get. So let me remove this guy here and take it back to user. Now, but your this thing might be you want to do something with individual item here. Let's say you want to do something with their first name. You want to display it somewhere, or you want to congratulate them, or you want to do whatever. Because this is coming as a string, you cannot do that. Because it's coming as a string, you cannot access the property that is coming, even though you're seeing it like this. Even though you're seeing it like this, you cannot access first name separate from this guy. No, you cannot, because it's an object. So if you for instance, if you get the type of this guy here, you see that it's a string. Because it's a string, you cannot get property one after the other. Your best bet will be to start splitting, and then you don't know what you're splitting. So once you get the data from the local storage like that, especially if the type is an object, original type was an object, which is an array like this, and then you want to be able to do what you should be able to do with an array, then you would have to convert it back to its original format, which is passing it back to JSON format. It was JSON, and you stringify it. So the next thing is now to get it back to original format. You have to convert it here so that it can be saved. Now that you have it back, you then have to convert it back to its original format so you can continue operation on it. So if you get, and this is, you don't have to do it on all data types. If it's a string, you can start using the string like that. If it's just like this one, this guy here, anything is a string by default, so I don't have to convert it to this thing like that. I can use it as it is. But an object, which I had to simplify so I could save it, I have to take it back to the object format. So here, for me to get the so I can just say users, so which I could actually have done in a straight line like this. Well, let's say I just users equals to this, and then users again, I pass it into a JSON dot parse, then users. Now, so when I do this one, what I have done is convert it to a JSON, which then effectively becomes like this again, and then I can start operating legitimate operation that I would do with an array or an object. So I can do it with this guy, but I couldn't do it at this line, on this line, because it's a string at that time. What I'm saying, so that you won't even say that these things. So assuming you don't have this guy, and you need the first element in this array. You need the first element in this array, and you say alert users, and then you say the first element, and this is how you get the first element of an array. Look at what you get when you do this. You get the first curly brackets, because as far as this string is concerned, the first element here is this square bracket, and that's what you got. So computer is garbage in, garbage out. So but for it to be correct, to get the actual first element, you pass it as a JSON, and then now when you get the first element, you have users.json.parse, that's, and then here you have the first element is object. Yeah, because this is an object and you cannot see an object in an alert like that, so you also have to stringify it to see it. But let's say in the first element, what we want to see is the first name. We want to access the first names, which would be a string and is a legitimate something, so you can see Kenny coming out in there. For some of you who might be confused as to why you're seeing object, we've seen that before. When you alert an object, what you will see will be an object, something similar to what you saw when you pass an object in here, because an alert is expecting a string. An alert only alerts string, the data type string. So when you pass in an object there, you have to convert it to a string for you to be able to decode it. So here, if I need to see the elements like visually, then I also have to stringify it first. So I also have to stringify it first, just so that people can see. But if I console log it, I don't have to convert to, because console takes all data types. So if I do this now, you can see that I'm seeing only the first element in the array, as opposed to the first square bracket that we saw when it hasn't been converted to a JSON type. So basically, this is how you retrieve the elements from the local storage. You save with the key, passing the data at the time of saving. When you're getting it back, you only need that key, and it gives you back the data. In some instance, you have to convert it to the original format. In some instance, you can just use it like that, depending on what the data format is. Don't forget that this takes string. So if you are originally a string, you don't need to stringify it again. If you are originally a string, there's no need to stringify it again, just as is the case where we are saving first name, last name. But even if it isn't originally a string, you have to convert it to a string so that it gets saved properly, and when you get it back, you don't forget to get it converted back to the original format that it should be. So that is how to get the element from the array, from the local storage. This is how to get the element from the local storage. So I would want you to design a form and then instead of passing Kenny locals to this thing, like you get it from the form, and have it saved in there. I don't have to do that for you. So the next thing you want to do is to we've seen how to replace even while we are doing these things. All you need to do if you want to replace this item is just to call that key again and pass in another thing, just like variable. If I need to replace the content of a variable, all I need to do is reassign another value to that variable, and the original one disappears. So the same thing here. If you pass in any other value to this guy, it replaces the original one. It replaces the original one with the same key. You pass in another value, it replaces the original one. So that's essentially how to replace. So moving on to how to delete. Now to delete an item, so there are two types of delete. One is to delete an item. To delete, maybe you want to delete just a single item, or you want to delete all the items in the local storage. So if you want to delete, like in this case here, if Google, here we have two items in the console. Here Google has several. So Google may want to delete just this guy, or just this guy, or just this guy, or just this guy, or all of them at a time. So that's what I'm saying. So if we want to delete an item, we just use local storage dot remove item, only one item, and we'll pass in the key, just the key that we want to remove. So if I pass in the key that the user using saving it with, that guy would be removed the same way you use this get item here. This is the syntax for it. So for instance, if I say local storage dot remove any of the items that are defined here. So now where the trick is that I'm in control of this, but I'm not in control. What the code I'm writing, he is in control of this, because each time we do these things here, each time you save, it goes to. Please guys, give me 1 minute, 1 second. Let me quickly. Shama, you are raising your hand. Shama, go ahead. You're raising your hand. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, sir.
We can hear you. We can hear you, sir.
Okay, Shama, go ahead.
Sorry, sir, that was a mistake.
Oh, okay, that was a mistake. Okay, I thought you have something for us. So here we say local storage or remove item. We just use the key. For example, if we say local storage,
We can't see your screen.
or really, where is this guy again? So local storage dot can you see it now?
Yes, sir.
All right, so we can say local storage dot remove item, then the item that we're removing, for instance, if it's anything, that thing that we saved, we call anything. Remember, on your look, we have this anything there. So the moment we say remove anything, that anything will disappear. So if we say remove anything, it removes that key called anything. So if you save this guy now and go back there, anything has gone, has disappeared. So there's nothing like anything in there. So if you pass in user also, it will also remove only the user. It removes only anything, and user is kept, right? And this guy has so much more than just anything. But so you can see anything is removed, so every other item are kept. Now this is how to remove a single item. Delete only one item, or delete specific item. Now if you want to delete all item as relate to your own session, delete all items. So what you do is just use the local storage dot clear. Local storage dot clear clears everything. So when someone is logging out, when someone logs in, maybe you keep a couple of their data locally like that. When they log out of your application, you should clear all their storage such that you are not missing Mr. A data with Mr. B. When Mr. B logs in, he should start his own data lifecycle afresh. So you clear everything that you have saved about a single user. So if I go to my Google now and log out, Google will clear all these things. And so when a new user comes in, they begin to save whatever they have saved. I don't know what this is. They are the one that designed it, so they know what the data is about. They begin to save that about the new users as well. So this is, I think, a couple of searches I did on some some scholarly in the one research I'm working on. So Google declares that for me entirely if I log out and then a new users. So this is mostly used for that, to clear everything and then to start again on a new clean slate. All right, so this is what we use. So if I do that now, look at this guy that has several this is Edge, has several key students, CEO, these ones like that. So the moment I save this guy, all of them they will go away, they will delete, they will disappear. So everything cleared up. These ones here, everything cleared up like that. But depending on how it is called, you can see that it's called last. And I see that some of you are still having this problem of how programming works. This guy is called last, and here we saved at this point, we clear last. If I put this thing up, you will see that I will still be seeing here I clear everything I've got before I save this guy. So in this case, you cannot come and tell me that, but I'm still seeing user there. But because you did not clear after you save this user after you have cleared all. So this user, this set item would be there. So if you go here now, you can see that in your storage you are seeing user. Meanwhile, you have called local storage.clear, but you called it before you save this guy. It's basic, but I need to mention it because I see that some of us are making sequentially. This is how programming works. So if you go call something, maybe you are deleting at the top and then you are saving down, and you expect what you clear to affect what you are saving thereafter. It doesn't work that way. The way you start in front of your mirror is how you're going to appear therein. So this is how this thing works. So depending on what you want to do, you have to know what you want to do. Okay, so a couple of these things, you are not going to be calling them naked. Maybe you're going to pass them into an event like a button where you say people say log out, and then this one will be called, and you direct them to another URL. Maybe you want to say delete an item. You have a button that you say delete an item. So rather than just splicing, you also remove it from where you're saving it at and all of those things like that. So to make this a bit more interesting, so I will just do like 5 or 10 minutes to add this thing to the implementation that we had earlier, which is this. So you can see the implementation that we had earlier is becoming something more like it. This is array method where the UI look hopeful, but where you're gonna have this guy here. So but rather than having it defined like this, we may want to add additional UI where we can really add to the users real time, and even add to new users too. So we have original users group and we have new users group. So we can define 2 keys in our storage. Maybe we can call those ones the starting 11, and then we have another one, we have reserves. So we can put from reserve to the testing and everyone, and we can do a bit more interesting stuff. Like each time we had you, you disappear from here. You know, the people that we had, they still remain here. These are the stuff that I want you guys to be able to test out, and so that you can, apply some of the knowledge that we have. We've added delete to it. If some of you haven't seen it, you can delete this item here. So, but let's say we want to get this input from user, and then get these guys here. These guys, the original user that we've got from the local storage, rather than getting them from the interface from here. So if you look at it here, this users list, we are getting them from here direct. So let's say we want to change the source from this variable, we want to change the source to the local storage. So I'm going to start by saving that guy straight into the local storage. So the users that we've got there, I'm going to set the item. I'm going to set this item to the local storage, although I'm not going to set it all time. So let's say I have it here. So I'll only populate this as default data. All right, I'll populate it into the database only if the local storage is empty. So if the local storage is empty, I would have us pass this guy there as default data. If it's already contained data, then this guy will not be added to it. So look at the implementation. So I'm going to check. So let's say here we say local storage dot get item. Here, first of all, let me delete. Let me ensure on the local storage where we have this array methods, there's no key here. So local storage dot get item. Here we're getting an item called users. Okay. All right. So let me say let's existing users be equals to this. Okay, now what you get here when there's no existing user is that you're going to get null. So existing user is null. You can see existing user is null right now because there's no data like that. There's no any key defined like that. So if existing user is null, then that's the only time I'm going to save this guy. I will say the local storage dot set item, and then I will say set users with this users data here. All right, so, and remember that we have to convert it to a string before we save it. So we save all those guys like that. So he lets existing get users. So if it is null, then set the user. So we did this so that we don't have to save it every time. We don't want to increase. We don't want to have grace. Each number of time we refresh the browser, the record gets saved. You know. So if you go in there now, you go to the local storage now. You can see we have users, and then if you refresh, it does not increase. It does not increase this guy. If we didn't do that, it will keep adding them all the time we refresh the browser. So we have these 3 users now. Now that we've got this guy, the next thing we're going to do is to then, since we use these users barely in almost everywhere, where each time we need users, so our best bet will just be, what we are saying is that we are changing the source of where people were getting the data from. Not from here, they should get it from the local storage. So here, let's say we say local storage, the users that user gets, the users that people are using is now equals to the local storage dot get item, and that is user, which is defined here. This you could actually define in a function. So instead of calling local storage all the time, you can have it defined, wrap it inside a function, and you can just call get users. So let's say we've got this guy here, users equals to local storage dot get item, and now there's going to be a problem, because if you look at your UI, there should be problem already. So you already have problem. You can see nothing is showing, and if you check your console, you should have errors. Because who can tell me what the problem is? Let me even not say before, because before I say it, let me be sure people are following me. There's a problem. We changed the source of our data to local storage, and nothing is showing again. Who can tell me what the problem is? Can you guys hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yes, we can hear you, sir.
What's the problem?
So I think you need to reference the users as an object for
you.
it to be displayed.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Somebody is listening. So what came here is a string, and it is not an object. So this needs to be converted to an object before it can be displayed. So if you look at what the guy is saying in your local storage, you'll see that he must be saying something like that. So you can see an error here. He's saying type error. Users does for each is not a function. It is not readable because it's a string, and it's expecting an object. So you can, just JSON dot parse. So pass that guy. I don't want you to remove my. So you can pass this guy like this, or you can assign it into a new variable. So you can have it like this. So once you pass it like that, the data that you got is inside here. You did this confidently without having to check if it contains something else, because you already did a check here, and you are sure that if it is empty, this will be set. So you don't want to check again and check if what came here, because you're going to also get an error assuming this returns a null or something like that, and you're passing a null. This is another error that you're going to get. So error upon error. So it's always good to double check and check if what is returned is not null. If it is not null, then you JSON.parse that user. So but here you did it confidently because you know that you have this one, but it's not always like that. So if you go back here, you can see the user, everything is displaying again. No difference. We are not getting, in fact, if I delete this guy now, it will not change anything, though I'm not going to delete it. If I delete this guy here, this guy up here, because we already have a copy in the local storage. So let's say I comment out this guy, and I just say because this is where we instantiate the user. So let's say let users be an empty array, just something like this, because here we didn't have to instantiate this. Where's that guy again? Here we just assign here, so you won't see any difference, because that we have a copy, and it's coming from the local storage. And then everything should work pretty as it's been working. Caleb, everything works pretty the same. So your next job is to see how we can get more user input and have users contribute to this data that we have, like that. We want to get users inputs and from the form, and then add it to the data that you are saving to the local storage. For instance, let's say here you've got, let me see where I can put this form. So let's say I'm giving you too much, but just for some of us, I know a couple of us don't need this. So let's say we have a form, and let's say the name of the form is reg form, and let's say you call it, give it an ID, reg form if you like, and then inside the form, assuming you have an input text, and the name of that guy is first name, and let's say the ID of it is also first name. So you guys are going to make this work. I don't think I should do this for you at this stage. So you should make this work. Name equals to last name and blah blah blah. Complete the remaining form. ID equals to last name. Complete the email address. All you need, you need email address, profile picture, and group. So finish up that. So the next thing is, I'll just jump and put complete the fields. Then the next thing is, I'll just put the button. I have a lot of plugins installed, so all of them thoughts I'm using their. So let's say input type equals to submit, and yeah, so let's say we got something like this, and then on submit, let's say save, we put, excuse me, on submit we have a method called save users, or save record, or save whatever you've done it. So let's say we've got this, and then we can then write a function that saves that data there and add it to this thing here. So let's say we have a function called save. So the function called save is here I have, first of all, what I got from the user. So let's say we have an event which comes from that submit event. So, and I prevent the default. And then we get the first name. You have the last time I told you can get the form straight on by referencing its name and like that, or you can get it the way you guys know how to, the simplest way. Let's first name be equals to document dot get element by ID, the first name. So you do that dot value, and you have this let's last name be equals to document dot get element as well by ID, last name, your value. Okay, so every other thing you get. Now, so the first thing you want to do is that you have your users in the DOM. Users you have in the DOM dot push. So you just push the new element that you're about to have. So you can construct this guy and push it directly like this, or better still, you can have it like this, so your code is a bit more readable. User to add be equals to this, where you have the first name and the last name, sorry. So here you can just push, so you can assign like this really, or you can do, if you're going to get confused, you can do first name equals to first name, and you can have last name. Okay, so user to add, you push it into the existing users that you have in your DOM, which contains everybody. Then you add the new users to it. Then your next step would be, this is not in the this thing yet. This is not in the local storage yet. So let's say I want to put the person's profile image. Let me even complete this one for you, so that at least we can see the effect. So we have email, profile image, and group. That is this thing that we. So let's say we have email, and this guy is email, and then this one is, look at what I'm spelling here, last name, and this one is, let's say, profile image. Here you are not uploading, we are not uploading, so you just provide the URL, profile image. You can do your manual validations by using require. Since you're using on submit, it will work. So just if you use require, the HTML5 validation will work. So if we do this profile image URL, this guy doesn't even have placeholders. First name, placeholder, placeholder last name, placeholder, please enter your email, and then placeholder here is a profile image URL. So we're just going to be picking from other users that we don't have here, like Wajud and any other URL that you have. So what else does that guy need? Group. So group as well. So let's say we have a select, we have option, so group 1. So let's say I have this. Group 2. Sorry guys, I'm keeping you too much on the call, so but it's I think it's necessary so you don't get confused. 4, 4, 5, group 5. Okay, so if we have this, we have this these groupings like this, so we can then get everything that we need to get and have them pushed appropriately. So that guy, I doubt we already put, okay, we didn't give it anything. I hope we don't have an ID called group before. So I have this group and every other thing being equal. So here, let's say we got these items like this, the email, then we have email, then we have profile image, we have profile image, and then we have the group to be group, excuse me. So here we can effectively pass everything that we received. So we say email, and then profile image, and then group is group. Then we push this guy here. So if you look at it, all things being equal, this should work. So we have this guy here. The group is coming after the submit button. Imagine.
So it not add value to the submit button.
You said?
You did not add value to the submit button.
Yeah, it's not necessary. If the submit button, the event here, this guy triggers it. So now if we put, let me look at someone in the distinct wajud.jpg. So I hope we don't have so let's say here we say wajud Kamal wajud at mail.com, and here we have this guy called images / wajud.jpg, I guess. wajud.jpg, and then this is the one I'm using, and then we give wajud any group and we submit. So let me see if that's getting fired or we have an error on our hands. Save. Where is that guy? Save. Because I can't see. Yeah, we did not call. It's there. It's saving actually. It's pushed to the guy. We did not call render. Render the so that the UI will refresh. Render user. If you look at the last video I posted, I've separated for performance issues. I separated various rendering that we are doing. Existing render existing users, render new users, render user group. So I can just call this, or I can call the whole interface, which will render the interface. So depending on what you say. So here we need to call, because we don't have to refresh the interface. So it says render interface. That calls what we've got here, and then so that the UI updates accordingly. So if we put wajud kamal images wajud group 4 submit, then we have wajud added. But the problem with wajud is that if we refresh, wajud will disappear because we did not put wajud to the local storage. If we refresh, wajud will disappear. Wajud has disappeared. What I want is wajud not to disappear. I want wajud to be part of the team permanently. So after pushing wajud here, I have to push wajud, push local storage dot set item that we did initially. Then we replace what we have in the users. I think we call it users or user. We'll replace it with these users now. We'll replace it with these users now. Don't forget to stringify it so that wajud doesn't disappear anymore. Stringify it, and we have it like this. So if we do this now, wajud will not disappear. Wajud is part of the team permanently. If we refresh, wajud is not there. But if we add wajud again now, this, and we give him whichever group we give him, we'll submit. Wajud is here. If we refresh, all this being equal, wajud will still be there. If we refresh 100 times, wajud will be there. So what we have done is that wajud is now saved in the local storage, and we got wajud from here. So if you put an eye on your local storage, you would see the console. You'll see in the application, you'll see that we have a guy called wajud here that we have done here. So what we have done now is, we have a persistent data. We persist the data. That's the language for it. Now, and wajud can be deleted. But if we delete now, we are not deleting from the storage. We are just deleting the one from the DOM. So we delete this guy, wajud get deleted. But if you refresh again, wajud will be back. So your next task will be to make this delete, work with the delete from the DOM, and as well delete delete that guy that we just deleted from the local storage, because each time we refresh they come back. And even these guys, if you had them, they are added here, but if you refresh they will disappear. We want them to be part of the local storage as well. So these are a couple of things that I need you to do. I can't be doing everything for you, so we can have that. So like I said, this guy, instead of calling it local storage like this, you can abstract it into a function and just say save user, like, so it's a cleaner way of coding. So instead of always having to nakedly mention local storage, you can have it wrap inside a function like this, and then have it called wherever they are needed, and just have the key like that. Please, any question before we call it a day? If you have any question, raise your hand. Please try and take a look at the part 3. I think I'll put that link also for us. When this also when I equally export this, I may also have it put there. I feel the ones that we download on the internet sometimes have some inconsistencies and all of those, but wherever you get it, you get it. Questions, please. All right, nobody's asking questions. When you don't ask questions, there are two things involved. One is that you don't get anything at all from what is being discussed, enough for you to even ask any reasonable question. The second is everything is clear and there's no need for questioning. Which one is it? Nobody's talking. Am I on this call?
Yes, sir, we can hear you.
Yes, sir.
My hand is up.
Okay. Please go ahead, Mr. Najib.
Okay, sir. Thank you very much for the class.
Yeah.
The reserve lists that we have in
Yes.
a select
Yes.
that we add, is it also possible to have it on the local storage
Yes. In
so that we
fact, that's what
can?
I want. In fact, you echoed my thought now. So what I want you to do is have two separate lists. So when you are adding this guy here, you had either you are adding him to, maybe you put where to add him to straight into here, or add him into reserve. Users that are added into reserve should pop up here in the reserve. So it means that what we're saying is that don't also get this one direct from the DOM. Pass it into, create a key in your storage and call it reserve. So when people say where they want to save it, if they choose option, you can save it into the reserve or save it into starting 11, something like that. And then you can then pick from reserve to this place. So when you pick from reserve, you may want to, but depending on your level, don't do what is true. Depending on your level, I would also want you to be able to, when anyone that you pick from reserve, I mean, a player cannot be on the bench and still be, on the field. So maybe anyone you pick from the reserve leaves the reserve team and join this other team, like that. So once you get this right, we can then even do your real-time grouping. All the people in the group, so you can move them from one group to the other, and anyone that is moved from one group leaves that group entirely to another group. But get this basic one right. I hope I'm clear enough. I want to be sure.
Yes, sir.
Yes. So if you had another user, let me see if I have another user, so that we can have plenty face. Salubi. So if I had Salubi, sorry, I'm just giving you any name I want. Salubi at mail.com. salubi.jpg group 4 submit. Salubi is part of the DOM, and Salubi can be searched here immediately. Works. Salubi. I have here, I can filter by people in group 4, and I'll see people in group 4. Everything works together as a unit, as a system. This is what we've got. So I want to begin to see a couple of these implementation in your actual project once you speak the understanding from here. All right, if there's no more question, any other question? Where is this guy? Is anybody raising their hand? So if there are no questions, I think this is a good time to end it. So you guys can.
Yeah. Sorry, sir.
Yes.
Yes, I just wanted to ask, what are the next things to do exactly?
What are the next things to do exactly?
Like the exercise you want to, are we just practicing this, or we have an extra work that you want us to do?
Yeah, I think that it's what I asked you to do is clear. It's not just practicing. You check this one, watch it again, and practice it. But beyond that, you make the delete here. This delete works here, but it doesn't work real time, because each time you refresh, that guy comes back. I want it to delete Grace entirely from the local storage. So you should make this guy work like that. That's what task number 1. Task number 2 is to add where you are adding this user to. Instead of adding him straight, first you have to make this work as it works now. Task number 2 is to where you are adding this guy to, you have an optional. So when you say directing or starting or existing, so the person comes straight to the DOM. Otherwise, the person come to the reserved team. That's number 2. Number 3 is when you pick user from the reserved team and add them to the DOM, they should leave the reserved team. They shouldn't be in the reserved team anymore. They should be here permanently. When you go there, you don't see them there. That is task number 3. That you have to do to test out your skills.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.